Alright, another year has gone by, and now it's time to talk about the backyard events of 2024. And there were so many more events this year compared to 2023, and some making a return after not doing so the previous year. Some more creative than others. Oh, and we may or may not have gotten a few new scarves this year too. Like this one. I'll talk about that later. And some that you guys absolutely loved. I'll talk about which one that was later. And some of us that just came out of freaking completely nowhere. To clarify, this year was packed. And honestly was far better than the previous year in my opinion. So let's talk about why I think this year was far better than 2023, shall we? Let's of course start off with where it all began. The New Year's party of 2024. It started on January 1st and was supposed to end on the 6th, but it actually ended on January 13th by complete accident because we forgot to take it down. This mainly was because of how the party was set up. You see, most of the lights that were here in the Christmas party of 2023 were still up after that party ended, so I took the opportunity to use the remaining white lights from that party and spread them all across the fence in the backyard, and also leave the ones that were already on the tree during that party and use those for this party as well. It was centered at nighttime so we could see the lights. And to be honest, this has to be one of my personal favorite New Year's parties for that reason. There were some really cool items such as a 2024 pin and a 2024 background with the light theme in mind. Overall, this was a great way to start off the year. And with that said, let's move on. So this event was completely unexpected and kind of came as a surprise because another event was supposed to occur instead. The Winter Luau. I'll probably do that in 2025 to make up for it. But what we got instead was far better. The 1,000 subscribers party. It started on January 26th and ended on the 29th. And this one actually ended when it was supposed to. It lasted the whole weekend of January 26th. And was held to celebrate me hitting 1,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. Do note though that this was the only milestone party to be hit in terms of subscriber milestones in 2024. The party mainly consisted of pool noodles and pinwheels. Oh, and also offered this scarf that was given to me by Rose Crystal in Christmas of 2023, just a month prior. It had nothing to do with the milestone, but it happened to pretty much share the exact same colors as the party, so it made sense. This would be the first of many scarves given out throughout the year. There were items such as a 1,000 subscribers pin and a background, as we can see. But that's not all. On the last day of this party, January 28th, balloons were added. And here's a picture with all of the balloons together to showcase how many there actually were in this party. The balloons were spread across the backyard in celebration of this milestone, and honestly were a very nice touch to this party. This would also be the first ever event ever to actually have balloons in it. No other event prior to this have had balloons in it, so that was also new as well. It was a nice way to kind of wrap up the party, as it was the last day. With all that said, let's move on to the next events. Next up was the Valentine's Day party of 2024. It started on February 12th and ended on the 17th. Most of the decorations that were seen in 2023 were reused. However, they were obviously moved to different spots of the yard to of course change things up. Items can of course include a background, and the heart necklaces were brought back from the previous year as items. It was a really cool party, I will not lie. Even if it reused basically all of the previous year's decorations just in different spots. But this party did feature something entirely new. Finally, after all these years, we finally had a Valentine's Day scarf. I mean, it took long enough, but yep, finally, a Valentine's Day scarf was created. And was a very nice way to end off the party. And that wraps up this party, since there was no other new content besides that, and of course the custom shirt, but that was already as expected. Let's move on to the next party. Finally, after 4 years, the Pi Day scavenger hunt came back. Yep. For the first time since 2020, we finally had a Pi Day event. It only lasted for 1 day, March 14th. And there were some small decorations around the yard, mainly reused from the Thanksgiving event. It was still pretty cool though, as it did actually make sense. Oh yeah! This was during the time that the backyard was overgrown, which means it was extremely hard to find the items that we needed for this scavenger hunt. We called this the overgrown backyard. And my God! Yeah, it was really hard finding these items in this state. Thankfully though, we were still able to find the items regardless of this huge mess, which would thankfully get cleaned up not long after. The items did look cool though, and the event overall was nice. There isn't much else to say about this, so let's move on to the next event, which, funny enough, actually occurred literally one day later. Next up is the St. Patrick's Day Party of 2024. It started on March 15th and was supposed to end on the 18th, but it actually ended on the 19th because my spring break for USF ended up being one day longer than we thought. Or more importantly, we just ended up getting an extra day out of nowhere. Regardless, I extended the event just to kind of, coincide with that, as it was a nice way to end off my spring break. Anyway, like the Valentine's Day party, most of the decorations were reused from the previous year, just moved around. And the St. Patrick's Day scarf returned as usual. The Shamrock lights came back, which was awesome. And overall, it was a very nice event. And oh yeah, the backyard was still in a messed up state. This was the last event though to feature that, thankfully. The party did look pretty cool though, even if it was just reusing all the previous decorations from the previous year. The items also did look pretty cool. We got stuff such as a shirt, scarf, and background. In fact, there was an entire list showcasing the items for this party. I really need to do this again. The next party is the Easter Fool's Party for 2024. It started on March 29th and ended April 2nd. Like the 1,000 subscribers party, this lasted for the entirety of Easter weekend, with of course the addition of April Fool's Day, since Easter was the day before April Fool's Day. Unlike the last Easter and April Fool's Day event in 2021, there were actually a lot of Easter decorations. And speaking of April Fool's Day, this was the first one in 2 years since 2022. I still apologize for not having one in 2023. So this makes up for it. Yep, it was back. But to be honest, I think there were more Easter decorations compared to April Fool's Day. Do bear in mind that this was during Easter weekend, and that was the more important day of the two during that weekend. So that actually made a lot of sense. During this party, the spring scarf was renamed to the Easter scarf, as it actually made far more sense. Now, a actual spring scarf would happen later that year, so do bear in mind, I will be talking about that later. This was a really cool event. There were still some April Fool's decorations, but most of these were Easter. And there's not much else to say, so let's move on to the next event. This one almost didn't happen, and I even admitted it in the video. The Earth Day Party of 2024. It started on April 22nd and ended on April 25th. This had to be even smaller than the previous year. There weren't that many decorations. There was a recycling bin and a blue pool noodle, but not much beyond that. I mean, there were some minor decorations in the tripod area, but most of these were spring decorations. Yeah, it's safe to assume that this was smaller than the previous year. And fun fact, there was supposed to be an Earth Day themed scarf in this party. Unfortunately, I could not make it in time. In fact, there was also supposed to be a shirt during this party. I didn't have a shirt for it at the time, and then realized a good few days later that I actually did, and it was already past Earth Day, so only a pin was released. Dang, that's sad. Oh yeah, there's not too much to talk about this party, so let's move on to the next one. This next one ended up being late. 8 days late. It was the only event this year to not have a logo. And it was also an entirely new event. The USF Graduation Party. It started on May 3rd, and actually, it was supposed to end on May 6th. Guess when it ended up actually ending? May 24th. By complete accident, because I forgot to take the lights down. And actually, they stayed up for the majority of the month. By complete accident. But, speaking of lights, that's what the main idea behind this party was. No, this was not Night of Lights, but fun fact, we will get to that later in the video. This party mainly consisted of lights in celebration of me graduating from USF on April 25th, 2024, which was when this party was supposed to take place as a one-day mini-event. The only logo you could say that was in this party was this specific background right here, which was made the day before I graduated from USF during a class activity, which was actually pretty fun, I'm not going to lie. With all that being said, there were lights everywhere during this party. And honestly, it was so cool. I truly had a blast making this party. And even if the lights stayed up longer than they thought they would, yeah, it was still fun. It was a very nice way to celebrate this graduation. With all that being said, that wraps it up. Let's move on to the next event. Next up was the Backyard 6th Anniversary Party. It started on May 24th and ended May 27th. So it actually ended on time this year, thank God. But as you can see, there was a background available and a pin available. Oh, and remember how I said that we would eventually make an actual spring scarf? Yeah, it was available during this party. You see, we didn't actually get a celebration of spring this year. That was unfortunately my fault. It will be back in 2025. I just apologize for not making a spring event this year. That was my fault. School got in the way, so yeah, you can thank that. Not to mention the overgrown backyard was also probably the same cause. But yeah, the idea behind this party was that it was mainly just reusing the lights from the graduation party, just with adding some minor anniversary decorations to them. Because yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said the lights didn't go down after the graduation party. That was supposed to be the case. And then when I realized that they were still up after all this time, I thought, let's just have them just be the anniversary decorations at that point. I guess it was also a nice way to celebrate 6 years. I mean, I didn't know what I was actually going to be doing for anniversary decorations, so I guess keeping them up probably was a really good idea, even if it was, not intended. But yeah, that's it for the anniversary party. There's not much to say about it, so let's move on. After 2 years, the summer party was back. Yep, that's right, it actually came back, after not doing so in 2023. This party featured all new decoration, and only a small handful of decorations from the previous one, being the tiki cups, which, just for the record, are gone now. Anyway, the party started on June 17th and ended on June 24th, lasting a whole week. This party mainly consisted with not just summer decorations, but pool noodles as well, as mainly the entire fence was covered in pool noodles, as we can see by this very clip. Oh, and there were free new lei, which was actually super cool. We had a glacier lei, a blue lei, and a dark blue lei. Overall, this party was a success. You guys really liked, and overall it was just nice having this event back after 2 years. I really hope I can keep this event coming back every year again. It was nice bringing it back with all new decorations. With all that said, let's move on to the next events. Okay, I take this back. This is the second event this year to not have a logo. But this is where things actually start getting interesting. What if we took the 7 Days of Fun event and applied it to the Buffalo House? That's exactly what happened in 2024. It started on June 27th, which was my birthday, and ended on July 4th. Since this 7 Days of Fun was centered during the New York trip 2024, we took advantage of it and done all the activities based off of things that we could only do in New York. The first one, on June 27th, was going underwater in the pool in the Buffalo House. You know the pool that we always see here in the background of every single backyard video in this location? Yeah, that's right. We actually went in it. And more importantly, went underwater. Finally, we could actually see what this thing looked like underwater, which was so cool. Day 2 on June 28th mainly consisted of all the nighttime areas. So what we did was we took advantage of that. We first went on the hammock, then we adventured out to the school area, and lastly took a look at some pretty lights from the other yards. It was a really nice night, I'll admit. Day 3 on June 29th mainly consisted of the garage. Oh, and some planes in the evening. But it was mainly the garage itself, even though we had already covered that in a previous backyard video a few years back, in 2022. Regardless, it was still something really nice to do. But Day 4's is far more interesting. Day 4 on June 30th, we actually went down to the basement of the Buffalo House. While this segment didn't last too long in the video, it was really cool because I actually got to show you what was down here after all these years. It was honestly really cool. And yeah, it was a very, very nice little thing that happened. And yeah, that's really it. This was such a cool idea, and I'm not gonna lie. A nice way to wrap up the days at the Buffalo House, because this was actually the last day that we were there at the time. So, yeah. That means Day 5 is elsewhere, specifically in Rochester. That's right, for the last 3 days, we were actually in Rochester, in a house. And Day 5 was at night. This was mainly because we were out for the majority of the night, and Day 5 was lights on the deck area of this house that we were renting. At least, for like 4 days. Like I said though, day 5 was mainly the lights that we saw in the deck area. While not all of them lit up, it was still really cool seeing which ones did light up and seeing what kind of lighting we could get on the deck of this house, which was actually really, really cool. And that's all there was for day 5. Day 6 though is far more interesting than this. This was July 1st, by the way. Day 6 on July 2nd was horseshoes, because there was actually a little horseshoe area outside the house, which was actually pretty cool, and it gave us an inspiration for this day, as you can clearly see right here in this footage. It was actually really, really cool, as it gave us something new to do in not only the series, but 7 Days of Fun as well. This was honestly so freaking cool. And of course, obviously, we just had to play, of course, the normal game of horseshoes. Get it over to the other side, which was awesome. And yeah, with all that said, let's move on to the final day. Day number 7, which, just for the record, was also brand new as well. Here we go. The final day of 7 Days of Fun was on July 3rd, 2024, and was ping pong. It was not also, just like horseshoes, a new thing for the series, and also 7 Days of Fun as well. And what a nice way to wrap this up. Obviously, the idea was that, of course, we obviously played ping pong on, of course, this ping pong table that was down in the basement of this house. It was honestly so much fun doing this. And like I said, was a very nice way to wrap this up. Sure, the video could have been better because some people were asking, why didn't I just put my phone on the window so I could actually record it easier? And I wholeheartedly agree. Why didn't I do that? That would have made far more sense. Oh well, too late now. This was 5 months ago. And that wraps up 7 Days of Fun 2024. Overall, this was far better than 2023's, in my opinion. This was the third 7 Days of Fun in a row to be in a have completely different locations in it, and was the first one in 2 years to not be in my backyard at all. That was actually a nice change. Let's move on to the next event, which, since this was on July 3rd, it's pretty clear what came next, the day following. Okay, make this the third event this year to not have a logo. The second event in a row this year overall to not have a logo. So dang, there were 3 events this year that did not have a logo. So far at least. And hey, here's the next scarf. The 4th of July scarf. So that's already 3 scarves this year. Sorry, 4 if you count the one from the 1,000 subscribers event, but that wasn't even related to that. So this is the 3rd scarf this year related to the backyard, and I think actually it was the last, because I don't think we've made one since. But God, this was so cool. Of course, this obviously was because of the 4th of July party of 2024. It started on July 4th and only lasted the 1 day. This was mainly because it was our last day in New York, because we were leaving New York on July 5th. This was a completely different 4th of July party compared to all the other ones prior, as this was the first one in an entirely new location, and not my backyard itself. There were so many free items. In fact, every single item was brand new. All 3 of those necklaces that you just saw were items, and they were hidden cleverly on the car. Since this was done in an entirely different location, all the decorations were brand new. And honestly, this was so cool. It was so cool doing the 4th of July party in a completely different location that we had never done before. All the decorations, like I said, were brand new decorations and never seen before. This was honestly so cool. And even the decorations here on the deck area were also pretty cool. We got some star decorations in all 3 colors, red, white, and blue, which was freaking awesome. Overall, this event was honestly so cool. And that's it for the New York event, because now we're heading right back to my yard again for the remainder of the year. Oh, you guys love this one. The Backyard Games of 2024. It started on July 26th and was originally supposed to end on August 5th. However, it ended up raining, I think, that day. So I had to do it on the 6th instead. Or I think there might have been a huge storm around that time. So yeah, it ended a day late on the 6th. Regardless, this was all done in celebration of the 2024 Olympics. So, in favor of that, I decided to create my own. Using, of course, the Backyard Games, which was awesome. It mainly reused most of the events seen from the previous Backyard Games, but regardless, this was the first Backyard Games seen since July of 2022. In fact, around the exact same timing. So yeah, there were some new events here, such as swimming, which was actually really, really cool. But most of these were mainly just seen from the previous Backyard Games. And oh boy, you guys freaking love this. This was such a creative Backyard Games. And all the colors were mainly used from the Olympics logo, which was actually insane. In fact, the first thing we actually did at the beginning of the video was actually use the rings to mainly form, you probably can take a guess, the Olympics logo. That was freaking clever and was a nice way to kick off the event. This overall was an extremely fun event to work on, and I'm glad you guys all loved it. With all that said, let's move on to the next event. Next up was the 8-year anniversary party for the Backyard VO series. It started on August 25th and came to an end on the 26th. There were some items in this party, mainly consisting of a Backyard VO's 8-year anniversary pin and an 8-year anniversary background, as we can clearly see in this footage. This Backyard anniversary party for Backyard VOs mainly consisted of mostly pool noodles. Speaking of pool noodles, a new one was introduced, being the dark green pool noodle. That was cool. But yeah, the party mainly just consisted of blue for the main color of the anniversary, and then green, just of course in reference to just the backyard itself, which was honestly extremely clever. But yeah, this was a very nice anniversary party. So let's move on to the next one. Finally, after 5 years, exactly 5 years, the Labor Day party's back. Yep. After exactly 5 years, the event was back, and only for one day, September 2nd. This party mainly just consisted of orange, pink, and yellow colors, and of course a background. It was honestly really, really cool, and it was really cool finally having this event back after 5 years exactly. It was supposed to come back in 2022, but I completely forgot, mainly because we only had just gotten back from New York at the time. So that actually is understandable. But yeah, it was mainly just pool noodles and rings, and a few signs. Not too much, only just a few rooms were decorated. It made sense though, considering this was only a one-day party, and was the first time it was being brought back after all this time. Overall though, it was just nice having this event back after exactly 5 years. That's all it really is. Just at this point. And I hope to hopefully keep it going from this point forward and not, take another 5 years off again. That was by complete accident. Next up is the Celebration of Fall 2024. It started on September 22nd and ended September 29th. Like 2023, all the decorations were reused from the previous year, just obviously put in different spots. However, just like 2023, we also bought some new decorations as well, such as these corn stalks at the shed. And also all these mini pumpkins, like holy frick, there were a ton of those. Anyway, with all that being said, this was actually pretty cool. I tried seeing if I could go any bigger than the previous Celebration of Fall, and I think I truly accomplished this. This was such a cool Celebration of Fall, and again, some decorations were used from the previous year as well, which was as expected. But mainly a lot of new decorations at the exact same time, which was awesome. One thing that was honestly very, very odd and also unfortunate was that this was the first Celebration of Fall ever to not feature the fall hat at all in this party whatsoever. Yeah, no, it was completely nowhere to be found in this party, which was a first because it was available in every Celebration of Fall prior to this. So that's the only unfortunate part. The fall hat was nowhere to be seen in this party. That's unfortunate. This next event was a surprise event that I never announced. Night of Lights is back! And it was held purposely because during the weekend prior to this occurring, we had a power outage due to Hurricane Milton, and it ironically came back on the night before this event went live. So this event was the perfect timing to hold this, as we had just gotten the power back the night prior. It started on October 14th and ended on the 19th. Fun fact, this was actually supposed to occur from September 9th to the 13th, but it got delayed by a month due to the surprise Thousand Islands trip that occurred that week that was supposed to be held. So it was eventually moved to October, and then got delayed again because of Hurricane Milton, finally releasing on October 14th, with the original delayed date being October 7th. Night 1 was rather small, but as the nights progressed, they only got bigger and bigger. Like, look at this. Holy frick. It got so insane that by night 3, there were like lights on over half of the yard, which was impressive. And by night 5, holy frick, it got insane. Like, look at this. Holy frick. This actually got crazy towards the end, which was actually impressive at the time. Like, jeez. Holy frick. I did not think I'd go that nuts, but I did, and it was freaking awesome. You guys really seem to like this event. I'm glad you did. But that's nothing compared to what we're about to talk about next. Okay, I think we can all agree that everyone loved this party. The Halloween party of 2024. It started on October 25th and ended on November 4th. You guys absolutely loved this party, and it pretty much shows right here. Because, yeah, we can clearly see, yeah, you guys freaking loved this party. And I'm so glad you did. It ended up being the most successful Halloween party ever in the Backyard's history. And I personally cannot thank you guys enough. To the point where I actually made an episode following this party's conclusion, thanking you guys for your insane support during it. This party managed to merge every single Halloween decoration I have gotten from over the years, and also merged in some entirely new decorations that I also got for this party at the same time. This had to have been the biggest Halloween party I had ever made in the Backyard's history. Probably even bigger than Lights of Terror. But what you're about to see next will definitely prove that. An update to this party occurred a few days later on October 28th, featuring the Bat Light, Pumpkin Lights, and Skeleton Lights respectively. And you guys really seemed to like this. And I'm glad you did. It was so much fun working on this. I'm not going to personally lie with all of you. But if you thought that was crazy, wait till you see what happened on Halloween itself. Even more lights were implemented, as a slight reference to Lights of Terror from 2023. The purple and orange lights seen in that party were implemented to this party on Halloween. They were honestly so cool to actually use again, as they were mainly only relevant during this party. But nothing was comparable to this. This had to be the coolest thing that I think we ever did in an entire Halloween's party history. We had a little light show thing that occurred within just a tiny little capsule right there. And oh my god, this thing was amazing. And yeah, it's pretty clear. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear with every single one of us. Yeah, we all loved it. It was genuinely incredible. And honestly, a very nice way to end off this amazing, amazing Halloween party. We even displayed it on the inside of the house. And it looked incredible. What a great way to end off an already amazing Halloween party than with this madness. It truly was insane. And the fact that all of it came from this tiny little ball right here was absolutely insane. And yeah, with all that said, what a great way to end it off. This event also came out of freaking nowhere. Yeah, this was actually supposed to occur in October of 2024, but Hurricane Milton delayed that. The Bike Derby was back after 4 years. It started on November 13th and ended on November 20th, lasting a week. This event mainly played out like a lot of the other bike derbies. Since it was brought back for the first time in 4 years, we mainly just brought it back to basics again. There were some minor decorations such as a white pool noodle, and the backyard mainly just decorated like a little bike racetrack, with the chairs being judges' chairs, or just, audience chairs to watch the race, with the, side yard being the starting line. This was honestly such a clever bike derby. And you guys also seemed to like this event, which was awesome. It was nice bringing this event back after 4 years. Of course, we obviously, took the bike out on, of course, a test around the yard, because obviously that was, of course, the main idea behind this whole event being brought back in the first place. And it was awesome. That's not the only thing we did with this bike. No, we did one other thing. We took it out to the front yard as well, which was incredible. I mean, come on, we had to do this at least once. And that's all there is to say about this event. Let's continue on. Only got a few events left. It just felt good finally bringing this back after 4 years. I really need to keep this event ongoing for, future years. And hopefully not abandon it again. The Thanksgiving event was back from the previous year. It started on November 28th and ended on December 1st, mainly lasting the last 3 days of November, as Thanksgiving was on November 28th. Like the previous year, the backyard was decorated for Thanksgiving, mainly using all the decorations from the previous year, with just some minor decorations used from the celebration of fall 2024. And like the previous year, a custom shirt was, of course, created. But yeah, it mainly just reused most of the decorations from the previous Thanksgiving event, of course, all moved around to make it different. One thing that was infamous in this party was that the fence was completely missing during this party. That's actually the one thing that was pretty infamous about it. Oh, and of course, the Thanksgiving scarf, of course, came back like usual. But yeah, it pretty much was basically the exact same thing as 2023, of course, just with all the decorations moved around to obviously make it look different. And yeah, with all that being said, that's it. It only lasted for just that weekend. Let's move on. Only got 3 left. Yep. We finally did hit a milestone this year. Let's go. Yep, that's right. We actually did hit a milestone this year. I know. We were so close to the end of the year without hitting a single milestone. But nope, we actually managed to hit one before the year ended. 1,300 episode party. It started on December 7th and ended on the 9th. Sorry, the 10th. This milestone party was handled a bit differently, as it was a full-on color theme. This was basically our color party for the year, in the form of a milestone party. Didn't it already look obvious? The backyard was mainly decorated in, of course, a color theme, in reference to this milestone. I mean, again, granted, we almost thought we weren't going to hit a milestone this whole year. So, that's probably why I did that. My god, though, that glow was beautiful. And holy frick, looking back at this footage, my god, that was beautiful. But point is, yeah, the whole backyard was all decorated in color. And we mean every single pool noodle that I had. None of them were left out. And I mean absolutely none of them were left out. Every single pool noodle was used. This was the most colorful milestone party we ever had. And to be honest, that's really all there is to say about it. It was just an extremely colorful milestone party. For it being the only one we hit in 2024, this was actually really, really cool. And hoping that we hit 1,400 a lot earlier in the year, compared to, of course, this milestone. And also, let's hope it's also not the only milestone party this year. Regardless, that's it for this party. So, let's move on to the second to last event of the year. This next event also appeared out of nowhere. The Winter Party of 2024. It started on December 10th and ended on the 17th. So this occurred immediately following the 1,300 episode party. And this was far bigger than the previous Winter Party in 2023. There were so many more decorations, and the backyard actually was legitimately decorated this time. Yeah, 2023's didn't have that many decorations, so this time I improvised and actually got a ton more, and managed to not only reuse the decorations from 2023, but of course obviously implement all the ones I got for 2024. And what do you know? We came out with a much better winter party than the previous one. Oh, and it was also the first winter party to occur in December. You're welcome. This was a very nice party. And we almost went this entire year without a winter party, much like how we almost went this entire year without a milestone party for the Backyard video series. Crazy to believe that we went almost this entire year without a winter party as well. That's crazy how close we were to going with the whole year without it. But boy, we threw one in right before Christmas, and I'll get to that in a minute. This winter party had some very clever decorations. And some of them were actually reused in the Christmas party. Very few of them, though. Oh yeah, and this was around the time the fence was implemented. But yeah, that's really all there needs to be said. This was a nice little surprise party. I threw in a winter party right before Christmas, and that's all that really mattered. Speaking of Christmas, let's move on to the final event of the year, and hopefully unlike last year's recap video, I don't ramble on this for a good 8 to 10 minutes. I do apologize about that, by the way. Here we are, the Christmas Party 2024. It started on December 17th and was originally supposed to end on December 27th. However, I extended it by 1 day, so of course, we could end it exactly 3 weeks after the 3-week event streak start. Yeah, did I mention that the 1,300 episode party, winter party, and Christmas party all occurred back to back from each other? Yeah. I realized if I didn't end it on the 28th, I would have ended it 1 day shy of 3 weeks of a 3-week event streak. So I ended it on the 28th instead. Which, funny enough, is when this video goes up for Saturday's story. Perfect timing. The party just ended. This party was far bigger than the previous year, but I didn't go as nuts with the lights. What I mean by is that I didn't wrap them around the trees as much as I did the previous year, as that took forever to clean up. This time, I actually got a lot smarter with the lights this time, and even implemented new ones such as red, white, and blue, very bright rainbow lights, and that's it. I do think I went a little more nuts with, of course, the decorations. This was a combination between 2022, 2023, and 2024's decorations, making it probably the most decorated Christmas party ever. Even more than 2023. I didn't go as insane with the lights this year when it comes to, of course, tangling them around the trees, but I can definitely assure you that there were far more decorations compared to actual lights this time, compared to 2023. Now, I don't think we beat the success of that party. I think that one would be very hard to top, but I think we still did a good job. This was such a fun party, and the stocking mechanic for items returned from the previous year, and worked out just well, just like that party. All the items, except for I think 2 or 3 of them, returned from the previous year. The only 2 items to mainly return in this party was the Christmas scarf, but that's every year, and the blue Santa hat from the previous year. Outside of that, the rest of the items were brand new, which was incredible. This party mainly consisted at night, but there were occasional daytime episodes with the lights off. But outside of that, there's not too much else to say about this party, other than it was a great way to wrap up an incredible year for the backyard. And with all that said, that wraps up this episode of Saturday Stories. Man, I think we can see why this year was far better than 2023 for the backyard. There were way more events. You guys actually started to really like the events halfway through the year, which I'm very thankful for because they take a long time to make. And yeah, we just did so much more creative stuff with these events, and I hope to continue this going into 2025. With all that said, thank you so much for watching this Saturday Stories, guys. I will see you all in the next one on January 4th, where we are going to cover, I think, the Legos Island ones. I mean, it'll be the day after I announce the 2025 one, so actually that'll make a lot of sense. With all that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye! And we'll be back in a year to cover the 2025 events.